educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are
all right, let's go ahead and open up the doors to the Zoom room. Yes, this is Becca Dukes here on Daily with Doc, and it is Monday. We are going to be starting up our Monday shows again, and I am so excited to be able to bring to you some fresh information coming from one of our naturopathic physicians here within our team. And I'm just, folks, when you're looking for answers and you put it out there, you find them. So if you have been trying to figure out something that might be missing, this might just be the show for you, as we're going to be taking another look at a different angle when it comes to identifying things that are going on in the body. So this program is being sponsored by Daily with Doc. And if you were referred to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them, as they cared enough and took the time to share this program with you, care enough about them, and thank them for taking the time. So if you have any questions in regards to what you hear today, they're going to be your point of contact in getting the information that you need at achieving and bringing in the products that are recommended if you hear something that is of interest to you. Now, if there's nobody to thank, nobody referred you to this program, you found us on your own or are part of the Critical Health News or Daily with Doc newsletters, teams, or subscribers, and you would like more information, just simply do a reply to that email that you received, or go to dailywithdoc.com. Use that contact us, or if you have questions at dailywithdoc.com. Again, my name is Becca Dukes, as the hostess of this program and also the Director of Student Services. It is with great honor and privilege to introduce to you our special guest, and it's her debut, and I'm so excited to be able to bring her on. This is Dr. Cara Ringland. Now, Dr. Ringland, she specializes in iridology. She is a naturopathic medicine doctor, traditional naturopathic medicine doctor, and she is just super excited to be able to add a nutritional aspect to her process, her practice. It's a process, right? It's a whole process when we're trying to figure out what's going on in our bodies, and then also obtain what we need in order to service our bodies in the way that they need to obtain optimal health, right, Dr. Kim?
Yes. Well, I am eager to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to this show. And it is a delight to bring wellness to the field and to the forefront. As we, of course, know, we're post-COVID. There's a lot of healing that we're all seeking. And I feel like the world is ready for taking action and being responsible for our wellness. And for those of you who may not be familiar with iridology, it's the study of the iris of the eye. So we look at the fabric of the iris, the patterns, the textures, the colors that are all shaped within the womb. So it's all of our genetic information, essentially, that is presented in our iris. And as we know, the windows, or the eyes, are the windows to the soul. And what we have discovered in Matthew 6:24, I believe it is, it's that let thine eye be single. Let thine eye be pure of light. And so what we have discovered is that when we're in a holistic wellness, our eyes reflect our wellness. So if you've ever had small children, you might have noticed when they get the glassy eye, the weepy eye, they're sick. You can sense it. And they don't even have to speak, because it's usually when they're little, right? So in this regard, we can use the eyes as a detector system. That's a non-invasive way to be able to look at things. So now to give you a little bit of my background, I started studying natural health in the year 2000. I had a unique background. I was raised as, I was homeschooled actually in Northern Idaho by my mother, who was a master herbalist. And so my education in natural health began before I could speak by learning about the herbs. We made all the teas, tinctures, medicines for our congregation at our church. And I learned a lot about animal care and small children in particular, and applied that throughout my life, because at 12 years old, I had developed chronic hives and urticaria. So my whole body was covered in welts. And I tried everything. And that was the first time I got taken to a naturopathic physician in Northern Idaho, Dr. Birdsall. And he was the first person who told me about Candida. And so learning about Candida at 12 years old showed me a lot about how to read labels and start to become responsible for everything that I put in my mouth. Now, through this process, and I want to explain to people how beautiful calamity can be. So sometimes we look at these difficulties as, you know, something that can break us down. But when we understand that it's our divine design, our creator, if you will, giving us the opportunity to make choice, to change. And that's why I love Dr. Wallach's work with epigenetics, because we are not a victim of our genetics. When we can understand action reaction, just like if you were to look at a car and understand how that works, you can do the same with the human body. Most of us are not very aware of how our bodies actually work. So in my case, you know, I started with these hives. It took me down this long path of learning how to be responsible for my health. And at 21 years old, I met Dr. Cara M, who was a practicing naturopathic physician. She had graduated from Westbrook University and also carried titles from Clayton University, and worked with Dr. Ellen Jensen, both of which were the interns to Dr. Bernard Jensen at his clinic, the Health Ranch in Escondido, California, in the early 90s. Both of these women were the leading ladies in doing much of his research and helping to standardize education for iridology. They also were the founding members of what has now become the International Iridology Association for Practitioners. So we call it IPA. And if you ever want to look it up, it's a wonderful resource for iridology, because it standardizes the languaging and making sure that we're practicing the science of iridology responsibly. So we're not making false claims. And again, as we all know, we are not here to diagnose or prescribe. We are not here to counteract any of your medical care. We're here to be a complement to it all. And when you understand how your health is and how it operates, then you get to become the captain of your ship. So the way we look at the eyes is that it's much like your blueprint of information that you're given at birth. If you think about it, even in the scriptures, it says God knew you before you were formed. He knit you in the womb. And I envision that being when the iris is being formed. It's almost like a 3D printer. And the iris itself is formed, fully formed at 5 months in utero. Okay. And if you're familiar with reflexology, so I have here a little picture of the hands and the feet. Most of you may be familiar with the basic points, okay? Now, when you look at these, we have an associated map here also of the eyes. And this map is from Dr. Bernard Jensen originally, and has been edited and upgraded by Dr. Ellen Jensen. This is one of the most comprehensive maps, and it is now used worldwide as a standard for understanding the iris. So as you can see, it's a blueprint of information, and each iris is so unique that you're able to see the patterns where they are associated to different organs. Just even the color itself describes a great deal of how your composition, your genetic structure is governed. So we like to be able to work with the body and highlight the strengths, support the weaknesses, and really focus on how much power you as an individual has to be able to make change. So at the clinic that I worked at Lifestyle Transformation Health and Research Clinic in Northern Idaho, I was the technician and the intern for 3 years. And I studied extensively. We did blood cell, live and dry blood cell analysis, as well as iridology. And we also did sclerology, which here is another map. This is the whites of the eyes. So what we understood is that the iris itself is like a thumbprint of genetic information. The patterns, the shapes, the textures doesn't always change. Sometimes the shading can change with lifestyle changes, but it's kind of what you've been gifted with. It's your house. So the whites of the eyes, on the other hand, indicate more of the current inflammation that you may be dealing with. So being able to use both resources is able to look at what is symptomatic and what is not. So our goal as an iridologist is to help you prevent symptoms. We do not have to be a victim of the sins of our forefathers, so to speak. And when we look at the, what we inherit, I call it the funnel effect. So it's up to 8 generations into the past that are all funneling down into our one genetic body. So these traces of injuries, pain, disease that our parents and our grandparents and their fathers and forefathers inherited and experienced is funneled into us. Now, the thing that I want to continually remind people of is that, like Dr. Wallach says, and he was the first to really bring this awareness on epigenetics, we can change. What we inherit is not just the genetic code. We often inherit the lifestyle. And the lifestyle that our parents and grandparents had is what often created the disease. And in today's world, it's predominantly due to poor nutrition. Food is our first medicine. And in our culture and our world right now, our food is deficient. Our soil is deficient. We have pollution on high levels in our soil, our water, our cosmetics. Almost every hygiene product is covered in chemicals, and we're putting them onto our skin. Most people don't think of the skin as being your largest living organ. And if you put something on your skin within 26 seconds, it's in your bloodstream. So when we start to look at our whole body, our body temple, which is my brand, Body Temple Health, we want to create a sanctuary for our souls to take up residence. Because when we're distracted by pain, disease, discomfort, that is when we are unable to execute our purpose and be able to live in alignment with our design and fulfill our destiny, essentially. So that's why, for me, cleansing has been a huge part of my practice. And I'm so excited to work with Dr. Wallach's team and his product line, because I've been looking for one that I feel is reputable, that has researched its formulas. And I am 100% impressed to see everything that's I've been able to look through, because it addresses so many of these deficiencies. So we have so many of them now because it's chronic, okay? If you look at a tree, which, mind you, my book is called Awaken and Become a Tree of Life, always be cleansing. So the theory on that is, if we look at each body like we are a tree, then if we give it the proper air, water, soil, and food, the nutrition and sunlight, that we can actually become a radiant tree of life. And when we are all operating at our optimal levels, imagine the network that we can create as a forest of global living trees of life that are bearing fruit, that are upright, I always think of integrity too. When we have an upright nature, then our actions, our words, our deeds, the things we put in our mouth illuminate ourselves. The things we speak illuminate others. And we come into alignment with a higher frequency of living. So I call it clearing the corrosion from the battery cable. Let's get the fungus, the parasites, the heavy metals, the heavy energies out of our bodies so that we can radiate at a higher frequency. And when we have all of our minerals, the 90 essential minerals, when we have our enzymes in order, when we do our detoxes, and I want to really clarify the standard of languaging. So I've used the term, or Dr. Christine Maxwell, who I wrote the book, introduced the term, always be cleansing to me, ABC. Now, a lot of the times in our culture, we look at cleansing as a seasonal thing. And what I want to bring to the awareness is cleansing is like cleaning up your house. You need to wipe the counters, sweep the floors, take the trash out regularly. And when we think of our cleansing organs, then we need to make sure that our alimentary canals are working optimally. So that's our colon, our kidneys, our skin, and our lungs. And we have to realize how important it is to support our liver. Although it's not an alimentary canal, it's a filter, and it filters all of our blood. So when we eat foods that are high in acid-forming constitutions, or if they have chemicals, preservatives, right, then we're going to have higher uric acid in the blood. Now, when that higher uric acid is present, our body has to stay stable with the blood, or we end up having cardiac arrest. It could be very, very serious. So the liver is the goalkeeper. The liver filters the uric acid out of the blood to maintain homeostasis. So the liver then becomes the distributor. It's the manager who tells, okay, we're going to send carbon dioxide out to the lungs. We're going to send uric acid out, which is urine. Think of that. Urine is actually filtered blood. So when you are supporting your kidney system with proper hydration, which, mind you, is not just the quality or the quantity of the water that you're drinking, but it's also the electrolytes. And making sure that you have your potassiums, all your chlorides, everything in order so that your body becomes electric. It actually can conduct energy better. And when we have our electrolytes, it makes it so that our cells absorb water. It's the catalyst for hydration. And so, and I'm not talking salt like, sodium that we get from, especially the iodized form Morton salt. That stuff is not good for you. I'm talking about the trace minerals, the 90 minerals that are also present in sea salt, right? So Dr. Wallach has formulated some really great products to be able to make it easy and accessible and assimilable. A lot of the times, supplements out there today are not assimilable. And you have to be careful of synthetics. Okay. And that's why I love longevity, what they're promoting, what they've formulated, very well researched in their product line, making sure that the ingredients are coming from high quality, food-based ingredients, because this is important so that each cell can actually uptake it. Otherwise, it's just pumping through the system, and it's likely to not be able to be absorbed. So then you're also wasting money if you think about it. So get the good stuff. Get the things that you know will be uptaken by your bloodstream, and support those alimentary canals. So cleansing is an everyday thing. ABC, it's the building blocks to self-care. Making sure your bowel eliminates every day. Make sure your kidneys, you have enough hydration. So you keep all the uric acid in a solution so it can be excremented. Otherwise, uric acid, and I've seen it in blood work, okay, it is little crystals. Those little crystals, if they can't get out, they're going to turn around and settle in the joints, the tissues, the ligaments. It's possible to create irritation. If you see a little crystal, it's kind of like having a stone in your shoe. There's going to be irritation for the surrounding tissues. Now, our body is so wise. You know, we were created with infinite wisdom. So we actually, our body pumps out mucus as a natural alkaloid. And when we understand that, then we can see that anytime we have a little extra mucus, it's our biofeedback system saying, you're going acidic, all right? Because it's pumping out to try to dissolve those little acid crystals and protect your tissues by being kind of viscous. Now, the thing about mucus is if we don't change our diet and we keep eating acid-forming foods, which are mucus-forming, right? Then that mucus will become more stagnant. And I call it like the fly trap for fungus, bacteria, yeast, virus, and especially for parasites. So we want to be mindful of always watching our indicators. Let's listen to our bodies. It's constantly communicating with us. And the more we listen, just like you were saying, Dr. Becca, you can actually receive the information. It will come to you. And you can understand what it is you're in need of and start really being aware of your choices. So I'm all about making sure we prevent mucus by eating alkaline foods. So there's the 80-20% chart that some of you may have heard about. You want to focus on 80% of your diet being alkaline forming. And that will reduce the acids that are going to be coming into the bloodstream. If you're dealing with illness, I would say, and Dr. Sebi from Honduras, who's now gone, he always said 15% or less acid-forming foods so that you can do repair. So your body doesn't have to work so hard. And I also heavily promote using alkalizing tonics. So we've all heard about lemon. We've all heard about apple cider vinegar. I have a lot of clients who've had issues with teeth enamel, and maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. If you do too many acids in your drinks, it's likely to dissolve your tooth enamel. So looking at alternate ways of getting these amazing tonics in without damaging the teeth. And I'll have to say, Dr. Wallach's gummies that are the apple cider vinegar gummies is revolutionary because it's an easier way to get it in. And children, okay, the elderly, you don't have to force them to drink some kind of apple cider tonic. And you can also do a nutraceutical option for alkalizing. My suggestion with the gummies, because they're 500 milligrams per serving, in my book, it talks a lot about alkalizing, and I have the tonics in there. But I would say to swap and use the gummies. If you are not interested in doing the tonics, it's much easier. You don't have to carry around jars and bottles and teaspoons and try to mix stuff, especially for those of you who may be busy, on the go, work. And I would suggest using it 5 times a day, every 3 hours, doing a serving of apple cider vinegar alongside of a highly alkaline diet, okay? And if you want to do a seasonal detox, so the difference between cleansing and detoxification to me is cleansing is your daily counter sweeping, and detoxification is when you're going to go in and steam clean the organs and dust off the fan, so to speak, and get into those nooks and crannies within your digestive system, but also throughout your entire body. And that's what Dr. Bernard Jensen really brought to the forefront in his book, Tissue Cleansing Through Bowel Management, is that you use the bowel like you would the Columbia River to get everything from all the tributaries, all the lymphatic vessels, all the nervous system, everything to dump into the bowel and then be eliminated. And obviously using the skin and the kidneys and supporting them in their elimination as well. So for me, I can only speak about my personal experiences, but using this method and this hybrid way of cleansing where you're not going into states of deficiency, because we don't need to do that. We want to do hyper nutrition, nutraceutical, where we use supplements, high nutrition food, tonics for alkalizing, and you can actually feed your system well. Okay. And so I have my testimonial just from this last winter. I had some ovarian cysts and I was suffering with Hashimoto's symptoms from stress from a couple of years back. And I'd also had a little fatty cyst here at the back of my occiput. So when I started writing my book, I decided to practice what I preach. And I put myself on the alkaline forming foods, did the tonics, and I did bathing, enemas, dry skin brushing, and oiling of the skin, alongside of high doses of water, of course, to keep the fluids moving. Now, I happened to get some CT of my abdomen done. And that's when they showed me that I had ovarian cysts on the left side. And I did 6 weeks of my program with blended soups predominantly so that I took the pressure off of the gut as well. And enzymes with every meal is really helpful for rebuilding the digestive system. And lo and behold, in 6 weeks, those cysts had completely dissolved. So, and this fatty cyst at the back of my neck has reduced by about 70%. Now, as for the Hashimoto's, all of my numbers have been reversed. My T3 and T4 were skyrocketing off of the Richter. It was like at a 10.7 point. They wanted to put me on levothyroxine. I took my time to do my cleansing. Nutraceuticals, the green foods are really important for pulling heavy metals out and then the alkalizing. And all my numbers are reversed. And I just have to give God the glory because it takes faith. Okay. We think about faith as believing in the things that are unseen. So yes, that is believing in something that you cannot see, like God, force, energy, right? Beyond that, what I've discovered is seeing the future for you, your optimal health, your optimal life, something that may be feeling really obscure. So in my case, when I've been covered in hives, and my last bout was right after my mother passed, and it was 9 months every single day of being covered in these welts. And you know, it's really easy in those states to kind of throw in the towel and give up, and you want a magic pill. You're in so much distress, right? And I just want to encourage people to know that the path of natural health is a slower opportunity to heal, but it's lasting. Okay? It is an investment in your future. Our health is our wealth. How are you investing? And know to have patience, because when you're receiving these blessings and your wellness and you're reversing illnesses, to have that patience is what gives you the opportunity to actually be able to experience the joy of being in wellness. And so, yeah, it took 9 months for me. And there were times where I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to just do what the doctors are telling me. And the Lord kept telling me, no, you know, this is the right way. This is the way to heal, is through nature. And we have been given our hands. Okay. We have been given food, and we have all of these beautiful resources to us, especially water and the earth. So when we can utilize our natural elements and be wise, because we've been given minds, we've been given the discernment, something that, you know, our animal kingdom doesn't have. We get to make choice, and we can choose. And that's why they say many are called, but the chosen are few. And I look at that more as we're all called. Okay. Whether it's death, disease, divorce, when we have difficulties in our life, I believe that is our calling. All right. Now, the difference is we've all kind of, I thought that maybe we're supposed to wait for our healing, for the miracles. No, it's a process of us doing the choosing. Okay. Because we can sit, faith without works is dead. So we must be activated. We can't just sit and pray. We need to make choices every day that come into alignment with our divine design. And I call it the marble theory is my story, but I like to add one good thing at a time, kind of like the gold foil stars for your kids. Instead of going into shame and saying, oh, I shouldn't do this and I can't do that, and then you start to deal with your inner teenager that most likely is going to rebel. So when we actually look at a reward system, and it's an endorphin reward, it's not like you're going to go get chocolate cake, but you're going to be like, congratulate yourself. Maybe even have that special little thing that you're going to kind of promote in your life. I like to use self-care. I used to love chocolate cake and ice cream and popcorn and all the things that made me sick. So when we can shift it, and self-care is the active state of self-love. So when we are choosing things that are not good for us and we know it, okay, it's like the dog that returns to its vomit. That in itself is the worst for us. We know it's bad and we're still going to consume it. Then we've created a more of a programming because we're cursing ourselves as we eat something. Oh, I shouldn't. And this is so bad for me, right? So when we can go into self-love, we can celebrate our wins. And, when I have big cravings, I'll run a bath. I'll get in the shower. I'll take the time for self-care, for loving this vessel, for cleaning this temple so that I can invite the soul to take up residence. And in that stillness is when we get the relief. In that stillness is when we get the messages and the answers, sometimes to our prayers, to our lives that feel really difficult and hard to get around. But that's kind of an overview of my theories and the way that I look at wellness. It's all about the holistic, becoming wholly, truly, as being as a creation. And so when we look at our roots as our digestive system on the tree, all right, what kind of soil are you putting in to your digestive system? And enzymes are essential for breaking food down. Most of us have not been eating properly. We weren't taught properly, especially food combining. Most people don't understand. But if you put a protein in the same room as a starch, protein requires an acidic enzyme to break it down. Starches required an alkaline enzyme to break it down. When you put an acid and an alkaline in the same room, they neutralize each other. So now you have indigestion. It's just not going to break down at all. And you can have more fermentation. So there's actually studies of blood gases that come through the digestive system due to fermentation. And it can actually mimic blood alcohol. There's some people who have blown a breathalyzer due to fermentation in the gut and never even consuming any alcohol. So when we look at this, we can stop all of that by focusing on our 80-20 chart. And I highlight the proper food combining chart. When you can understand what you're eating, when, and why, and combining things properly. So I always tell my clients, pick one, a protein or a starch. Now add green vegetables. You can't go wrong there. If you're going to eat fruit, do it alone, preferably earlier in the day, so it goes down the tube first and doesn't get trapped behind the proteins that take a much longer time to digest. If the fruit gets stuck behind that protein, then you're going to have a lot of fermentation. And that is where, how is wine made? It's fermented fruit. So people are actually generating, I call it a brewery, in the digestive system, and they're absorbing these blood alcohols. And talk about feeling moody, lethargic, exhausted, depressed, you know, it's the off-gassing of these things. And so we want to really work with digestion and with enzymes. And that's why I love Dr. Wallach's products and his cleanse options too, because I'm all about hydrotherapy, and I really encourage people to consider colonics and enemas potentially if you're really dealing with high degrees of toxicity in the body. But it's not convenient for everyone, and I understand that it's in our culture. It can be a little uncomfortable. So Dr. Wallach has several formulas, the 30-day detoxes, that I think are excellent for your user-friendly opportunity. And you can do that. I mean, Dr. Jensen, he suggested cleansing 4 times a year. So basically, every time you have a seasonal change, okay, it's a good time to cleanse, just like you would in your house, right? You do spring cleaning, you do fall cleaning, especially because of the changes in the seasons. And sometimes in between, because when it's just like in your closet, when you got to change your clothing out based on the seasonal changes, think of that for your intestinal system, all right? Cleansing it out, right? And I use a term called purge to emerge. Once we are releasing those things that no longer serve us, we are not weighted down and we can soar, okay? And we can become lit up, literally. There's studies on biophotonic light emissions in the cells. So when we're operating at a high frequency with the electrolytes, seriously charging every single cell, literally there is light to be detected. And we go right back to that Matthew 6:24. Let thine eye be pure. Let thine eye be full of light. So our cells are full of light. And I see the eyes as kind of like your thermometer. So when your eyes get red, weepy, irritated, it's kind of at the top of the thermometer. And in Herring's law of cure, the best way we heal is from the top down. And so your inflammation will start to be reduced, and you almost have to somewhat go back in time through your symptoms potentially to get back to homeostasis. And that's why they call it cleansing crisis sometimes. And if you push your body too hard without getting the elimination going, that is when those toxins will kind of back up and you reabsorb them. And that's why making sure your bowel is going regularly every day, especially while you're taking a detox product, especially while you're trying to remove heavy metals, you've got to get them out. Otherwise, it's stirring up the dust and it's going to end up somewhere else. And that can create more of an issue. So as far as for iridology, the most beautiful thing is being able to see inflammation. So you can formulate a plan for each individual that's more based on their genetic needs versus blanket theories. You know, eat right for your blood type. I mean, we have a lot of great ideas, and definitely they're applicable, but it's not a standard for everyone. And then you add personalities. So in the iris, you can also see the person's way of thinking, the way they process information, the way they do things naturally. And being able to use that as well to work with people, their emotions, their unresolved trauma, to be able to formulate a plan that they can digest. All right. Because it's about meeting the individual where they're at, not trying to force feed them on something. It is about working with them so that they can integrate wellness in without feeling like they are imprisoned by this new standard or living this rule-based life. They can actually do it in a way that feels joyful and integrated, and they feel empowered and free, because that's what we're really looking for, is freedom. We want to be free of the ways of the world that have been put upon us. All right. We didn't ask for these things, for the pollution and everything that we're in exposure to on a regular basis. However, we are exposed to them. So we need to be able to maintain power and sovereign power to reduce the inflammation. Because I see basically all illness is inflammation, which is predominantly caused by metabolic wastes and acidosis. All right. Anytime you add chemicals, preservatives, toxins, then you're going to up those toxic levels in the blood. So we're already dealing with just basic inflammation from our metabolical system going on. And then you add all these other things. And today, I just want to also really highlight how our children have been so inundated. All right. Not only have most parents not really thought about preparing for having a child. All right. That's something Dr. Bernard Jensen really looked into. And even Dr. Wallach focuses on helping the families prepare for children, how to raise the children so that they get the nutrition that they need, and how to teach them how to walk in the world. Because today's world, whether it's the handheld devices, so they're already being exposed to so many electromagnetics, but the food, the cosmetic industry, and it's very difficult to watch because, of course, our children want to, quote, fit in their school systems, but there's a lot of this that is really targeting children, and we're having illnesses in young people that should never have been there before. They used to come in elderly, and now we're seeing them in our teenagers and mental health crisis. And a lot of it's based on food, based on minerals not being present. And I'll touch real briefly, there's a lot to do with the MTHFR gene mutation, which we'll do a separate show on. But I really want to bring that awareness to people that if there's any mental health issues, especially in your family, your children, please look into getting that genetic test done so you can understand the methylation in the body. Methylation is what naturally does detoxification. There is a huge percentile of people who are not methylating now due to this mutation, which makes it so that they're actually unable to get toxins out of their body. And if they're getting synthetic vitamins, they are actually having allergic reactions to that. So it's not even like sometimes we all focus on gluten being such a terrible food product, which, mind you, it is acid forming. But wheat, God-given to us, kamut or spelt, the original grains, they were complete food. And you have to look at what the biggest problem with the wheat industry, besides the glyphosates from the Monsanto and whatnot, is the enrichment, because it's all enriched with synthetic vitamins, folic acid and riboflavin in particular. What we are needing is methylfolate and methylcobalamin, and those are in Dr. Wallach's product, the tangerine one. And this is a vital part. We don't understand the sequence. I've been doing a deep dive on it, but we need the methylfolate in order to uptake iron. And we need iron in order to uptake oxygen. So people who are oxygen deficient or having thick blood is because they actually are really in need of this nutrition and the minerals, and they can reverse it just by providing them with the few essentials, and it can help get them to absorb everything. Now, I do see that it looks like I have a couple of questions possibly. Is there anything else I should share, Becca?
Well, we do have hands with questions, and I know we're going to have a lot more questions. And so we already have over 4 months of talks set up for Dr. Cara. And so I'm super duper excited. Now you're talking about, eating more alkaline food. Folks, eat your vegetables, eat your fruits.
Yes.
But you remember that because of farming practices, they no longer have the minerals. So we must be intentional in making sure that we're getting the minerals and the 90 essential nutrients. Now, it is the Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.5 version of the product that has those methylated B vitamins and folate. So I'm super excited that we brought that out within the last 2 years. We, as in Longevity, brought that out within the last 2 years. And it's an answer to a call, meeting people where they're at and the needs that people have so that they can also obtain better health. Now, not being able to eliminate those toxins or detoxify, that is something that it makes it pure and just so simple. People say, I have the MTHFR gene. Okay, well, what is that? You know, because it's this big, long word. Basically, not able to detoxify themselves, not able to get those toxins out of the system. So I have lots of comments coming in to me personally in the chat and also through text messages, just loving your message, your energy. So I'm super excited as we continue to have you on with us. Now we do have some eyes to look at. So
Yes.
we'll do one, but let's go
No.
ahead and let's.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
All
Just
right.
let me make sure this is taken care of.
Okay.
No, thank you. Sorry about that. Wonderful. I can't wait to hear what everyone is curious to hear more information on.
Well, AJ is the first to have his hand up. So AJ, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good to see you again, Dr. Cara.
Likewise.
I'm so glad that you're on the team. You're a bundle of energy. But the only thing I want to know
Yes.
is I want to see you added more things today. You just said that you can see someone's personality in the eyes.
Yes.
But see, now, if you're looking at my eyes, you're gonna guess my personality. So it's like, that's not really fair. But I'm very curious to see you do an eye analysis. I really need to see this.
Okay. Well, I'm eager to do so. I have a couple of eyes or sets of eyes that we get to look at today.
Well, let's have at it, Ms. Duke.
Okay. Fabulous.
Somebody mute
All right.
it. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, AJ. So first, let's go ahead and Marilyn, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, can you hear me? I had an eye analysis done many years ago, and they said I'm super, super sensitive. I didn't know what it means. And the guy goes, and you have anger in your gallbladder. And he said, on your father's side. Is this things you can even see, like versus mother's side versus father's side? I mean, I was like, what? And so I don't know. I guess I carry that with me. I don't know.
I love it. No, this is very in Denny Johnson's work, which is the Rayid form of iridology. It focuses on the personality, and you can see birth order as well as what you inherit predominantly from your mother and your father. The right eye carries more of your father's genetics, and the left eye more of your mother's genetics. And in my eyes, for instance, I have a mark in the lung area of the right eye that is specific to inheriting or to a forefather having tuberculosis. Okay. Well, what's interesting is when I started doing the research, indeed, my great-great-grandparents died of tuberculosis on my father's side. And it was genetically handed down 4 generations back. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And then one other thing,
It's pretty fascinating.
they saw little yellow specks, fat in the blood. I guess that's what it was. I didn't know at the time, and I didn't know, but it's a result of eating too much sugar, right? You're seeing these yellow specks in the blood. Anyway, he said he showed me the blood. He showed me it, and he says you should not have these little specks in your blood. And that was like year 2000.
Okay, that sounds like about the time that I was behind the microscope.
So you can even see fat in the blood through the eyes.
Yeah, fat in the blood. And you can see fat in the whites of the eyes. So a lot of people get that little, we call it a pinguecula. It's a fat the little deposit that's often yellow, or it's like a little blob in the eye or the cornea, actually. And that shows that you're not able to digest fat cells. But as we know, you're right. What does fat come from? But predominantly from sugar. Everyone talks about fat, but actually in the 80s, when we went went on the fat-free fad, we actually created a lot of problems. And I have a theory that's likely associated to some of the dementia and Alzheimer's issues we're seeing in our elders today, who were predominantly told to go on fat-free. We need good fats for the brain. Okay, the brain needs those oils. The skin needs those oils. The problem is we're eating rancid oils most of the time, and we need good oils. And so I was listening to Dr. Ben Fuchs' show, talking about the EFAs and the omegas and how important that is for the brain, for the good oils, even the coconut oil that has high caprylic acid, and the HDLs and the LDLs actually help lower high cholesterol. But and sterols in general, if we don't have fats, we can't generate hormones. So the problem is sugar, and especially the refined forms of it. You know, good sugars has trace minerals in it and all the things, but we want to keep the glucose levels lower, you know. But yeah, this is incredible.
It was
Fascinating
to see it, to actually visually see it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next.
You, Marilyn, and hey, Marilyn, it's been 24 years since you've had one. You've been on some really good supplements for the last 6-7 years. This might be time for another eye analysis, which Dr. Cara does do. So, folks, if you're interested in an eye analysis, okay, Dr. Wallach promotes hair analysis. Dr. Cara does the eye analysis. She is open for doing that. Of course, there is a fee. We want to make sure that her time is compensated. So you can get a hold of Dr. Cara several different ways. Okay, Cara at bodytemplehealth.com. Again, that's Cara, C-A-R-A, the @ bodytemplehealth.com. So that's the way we're going to share with you right now. For those of you who didn't catch that and want to reach out to us, you can get a hold of us through our website using that contact option. We'll make sure that we have the information to the whole team so that you can get in touch with Dr. Cara as well. So we're coming close on time, and the next hand up is a set of eyes that we're going to be looking at. So
yay.
Yes. So Rod, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Hello,
Yes.
Yes.
I have a distributor that says, how do you get your alkaline food chart? Is what you want to know.
What was that again?
Where do you get your alkaline food charts?
You can find it in my book, which is on Amazon currently. And I also have the workbook that goes with it. This promotes 8 days of self-care and basically walks you through much of what I've introduced to you today on proper nutrition, proper food combining, and doing it from a food-based state. And I would love to be able to add an addendum with any of this so that we can really tailor a lot of these products to help support the individuals in their wellness as well, so that you don't have to focus so much on making so much food. Sometimes you can actually go and be traveling and still have all of your nutrition. And especially because, as Dr. Duke, or as we were also discussing, the food or the soil is deficient. So even when we're getting good food, it's not the same degree of minerals and nutrition that was originally in Garden of Eden, for instance. We are in a deficient state. So adding in these minerals in particular is important, really important. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
Thank you.
chat, folks, for those of you who are here with us, information on how you can get a hold of Dr. Carla's
Yes.
always be cleansing, and the book itself is also on Kindle. So go ahead and check out the information in the chat there. We'll make sure that we also get that available in the newsletter that we send out with the copy of today's replay. So are you ready to do an eye
Oh, I
analysis?
am. It's my favorite thing. I think of them as beautiful marbles I get to collect. Each one is unique.
Let me go ahead and do a screen share here. And
Okay. Wonderful.
all
And
right.
this is the Oh, wonderful. So this is the beauty of the way I work is I can do a lot of work remotely. And these are photos that have been taken off of a smartphone. So they are perfectly adequate for being able to get us a good idea of where to start for iridology. Now, with the dark eyes, the brown eyes, it can be a little more difficult to see the fabric of the patterns, but it still gives us so much information. So what I see here is a hematogenic iris. So hematogenic is meaning brown. And really over 90% of the population has brown eyes globally. It's a genetic strength. Now, what we're also seeing here is that it's the hematogenic body is governed by the hema. So the blood, any of the blood congestion issues are common in the family heritage, typically of a brown-eyed person. That could include cholesterol, heart issues. It can include varicose veins, sometimes gout is predominant.
Recording stopped.
And sometimes,
Recording in progress.
there we go. And sometimes diabetes can be common as well for people with the blood conditions. So we want to be able to help prevent these things by keeping the blood balanced. And so as we were talking about with the vitamins with methylfolate and iron, it's important to feed the blood with these things. So I would suggest an iron supplement. I would also suggest potentially doing, it looks to me in the right iris, if you look at the eye as kind of like a clock dial, so at the top being noon and the bottom being 6, right? Right at about, I would say, about 7 p.m., we can see that there's a vein in the white of the eye, and that shows that there's a potential for having some liver congestion. So I would suggest, especially because it's kind of spring still, it's a good time for a seasonal cleanse, to do the 30-day liver cleanse to support the liver, which again, what does the liver do? Filters the blood. So it's kind of like the air filter to a car, only we don't get to replace it. Our body is so ingenious, it actually will just get a bigger liver. So the enlarged livers, fatty livers often come from congested blood conditions and the workload being put on the liver. So when we cleanse the liver, we cleanse the filter, so to speak, and we make it so that our bodies work so much better. The other thing I see here is that it's a neurogenic iris, which means it's a strong silk-like structure, meaning you're very resilient. The body heals really well and most likely doesn't deal with a lot of symptoms. Now, the challenging part with this, though, is oftentimes the individual, because they don't notice symptoms, they can push themselves a little hard. And we call it burning the candle at both ends. So oftentimes, the more the resilient person, they may have a health crisis later in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that they didn't see coming because they just pushed past the feelings of being tired and things like that. So with this particular particular structure, it's important to remind yourself to take time for quiet, take time for rest, and balance that. Now, as a personality, you are very balanced in general. You're also really good at planning. And so there is an ability for you, a sense of knowing to see the right, it's not even right or wrong, it's just the proper way that things can be done to create efficiency and effectiveness. It's a very good personality, essentially, for leadership, for organizations, for creating policies and executing plans. And you can also see that you have what we call is a little bit of a ring of purpose, which is the darker exterior. So your eye is very dark in general, but you can see there's a little bit more of a richer tone at the outer edge of the iris. That indicates that there's a sense of purpose on a spiritual level, that there was kind of this burning sense, maybe even especially in your teen years and your 20s, of I have something to do. It's like kind of feeling like you have somewhere to go, but you don't know where. So the more you've been able to actualize who you are and create a plan, then that sense of purpose feels fulfilled. Okay. And it's very important to feel fulfillment so that you get, rest well at night. You feel accomplished every day. And on a physical level, it can also indicate that the skin can have a difficult time eliminating. And making sure to sweat regularly is important to open those channels up, to prevent putting any kind of synthetic lotions, chemicals, colognes on the skin also. And I understand, I'm a huge fan of essential oils, and Dr. Wallach has an incredible line of essential oils that are reputable. And it's important to know your source for essential oils, making sure that they are not solvent extracted. But essential oils are the blood of the plant. And you can really get a lot of benefit from the chemistry of the essential oils when you apply it directly to the skin. So for you, I would suggest adding a lot of grapefruit would help the lymphatic system move if you're feeling a little bit sluggish. And using, I'm a huge fan of oil in general. Castor oil is excellent for keeping the tissues osmotic and supple. You look at an elderly, when we're first born, we're about 72% water. And people who are in their elder years and suffering from disease are often down in the 50 to 60 percentile of being hydrated. So we want to keep those tissues supple. Now, the other way to do that is with lecithin and silica as nutrients. And that's also including your B vitamins. These are all the necessary ingredients and proteins, the protein shake. All of that is the essential nutrition to build connective tissue, which is your veins. Everything about you is connective tissue. So that's just a quick little overview. I could give you a lot more, but I want you to be able to digest it. Do you have any questions?
No, I was very impressed when we met and you did that analysis in person, and it was very, very thorough about what we talked about, because I was familiar with the vital skin, and also I had did the health evaluation, and everything led to the digestive system. And as soon as we talked, that was the first thing you said was, you saw the digestive thing going on in my body through my eyes. So I knew that you were very accurate from what you told me and showed me. So it's very impressive. I know that it can go in very great detail, and it takes time, but I thank you so much for what you have done in such a short period of time. So I encourage anyone to get it done, because I know the great detail that you can go into. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Yes, typically when I do an official eye analysis, I will look over the iris, and I have several tiered packages. Some that if you just want some general information, kind of like what we just did here today, Rod, that focuses on your eye color and your basics of nutrition. Now, if you have chronic conditions and you're really looking at trying to get to the root of it or needing help translating your blood work, or coming up with questions to engage with your allopathic physicians, those are my passion projects. I love to be able to help people become empowered, and we can go through it brick by brick and come up with a solution for you and a plan that integrates allopathic, because the best thing about food as your first medicine is it's not in conflict with allopathic. And that's where even Dr. Wallett's supplements, it may say the word supplement, but all of it is food-based. Okay. And that is something that's really beautiful in today's world, is staying close to the source. Because otherwise we're getting out there into synthetics and isolates and getting into it's out of balance then. So we want to stay as close to the source. And that's why I'm so happy to work with this company. Thank you.
Awesome. That's incredible. I absolutely love it. And when you talk about holistic, I mean, you touched on a lot of different aspects in life, which is exactly part of what we do in the Certified Holistic Health Coach course. So,
Wonderful.
but you, Iridology, which is something we don't touch in, and that's where we are so blessed to be able to have physicians such as Dr. Cara Ringland as part of our team in helping each and every one of us be able to achieve optimal health. So again, you can get with the person that shared this program with you, say, hey, I want more information. And hopefully they'll be able to connect you with the information to get a hold of Dr. Cara. If not, you can always call our call team. I'll make sure that each and every one of them on the call team has Dr. Cara's information as well. You can reach us by going to 855-949-3377. And please make sure that you let the team know and let Dr. Cara know if you are working with a longevity distributor already. We want to make sure that if you're working with somebody already, that you get referred back to them with the program that is being recommended for you. If you're not working with somebody already, then we want to make sure that Dr. Cara knows that so that she can help you get the products. And as part of the team, we all work together. So we're super excited, Dr. Cara, to have you as part of our team. What an amazing hour. We didn't even get to the second eye analysis, so we'll do that at another time, which I'm so excited, personally looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that.
Okay.
Well, folks, if I could get my team on the screen with us, that would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, Dr. Cara, let's give it up for her. Amazing, amazing. Thank you for blessing us with your knowledge and your wisdom and your voice that shares so much knowledge and just feeds into us the positive energy we need to know we're in the right place.
Amen.
So, yeah, we have with us my executive production manager, Ruth Ellen Sanchez, who's keeping us all organized. Thank you so much, Ruth Ellen. We have Marilyn, who is putting amazing notes into the chat, which is one of the finest reasons for being on with us in our live Zoom, because that information is not shared on the different broadcasts or streams. So thank you, Marilyn, for all that you do with that. We have Sherry, who is helping us let people in, keep an eye on cameras, making sure that it's a safe place for all ages to be. Thank you, Sherry. And we have Coach Rod, who is doing the same and making sure that people get in a timely manner and bringing and stepping up, showing his eyes as being our first example of what Dr. Cara is all about. And we also have Albert way down in South Africa, letting people in and helping us reach those people that are outside of the United States borders. So if you're outside of the United States, folks, don't hesitate to reach out. If you're not working with somebody, we have distributors around the world who want to help you find your optimal health journey as well. And we have AJ, who is currently on the phone helping somebody that has called in. AJ is one of the reasons why we are able to be on so many different platforms, as he took the time and just took charge of that project and made things happen. Just want to do a big shout out and thank you to AJ and all of my team. I could not do this without them, without their skills, without their emotional support and love. Folks, we are a holistic community that works together, and we're here to help an even greater community as a resource to them and putting tools in their toolbox with knowledge and what needs to be done to help those around them as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us here on Daily with Doc and Becca. My name's Becca Dukes, and it is my honor and privilege to welcome again Dr. Cara Ringland to our team. Until next time.
Bye.
Don't forget, folks, Mondays are Dr. Cara days. So mark that on your calendar, 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, by going to dailywithDocZoom.com. Of course, you can catch the replays, but there's nothing like being here in the Zoom room with us, seeing that chat and asking your questions. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.